Hey everybody, it is me, Tom, down in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And now it is November 26th, and I've been down here since the 2nd. So I guess we're talking 24 days, creeping up on a month of my 3-month trip, and still having a great time. The weather here is like paradise all the time. It's just you walk outside and it's kind of like it's not too hot, it's not too cold. I posted a video that I took in a local park, kind of ironically panning around the idyllic scenery and saying, Argentina, what a hellhole. I hope everybody understood the joke. Uh, anyway, and yesterday I had the pleasure of going to a concert with my friends in the Barber Drunk Quartet. Uh, and and it was actually really great. It was for a local choral legend who was retiring, and so a lot of people who he had helped along in their musical journey, and their choirs came and sang, and so it was kind of like the first group, and then there was the quartet, and there was this wonderful ensemble from another university, and then the massed group at the end. And it was held in not like a super venue, but it was big enough to hold the people anyway. Flat floor. It was the School of Engineering in Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires. I grew up saying Buenos Aires my whole life, and so Buenos Aires just it's not quite rolling off the tongue yet, but I am getting there. And it's amazing these days. Even though, again, my Spanish kind of sucks still. I do work on it. There was about a week where I didn't work on it at all because I was so busy and doing stuff. We can get into that in a second. But I figured out that with constant access to the internet, this is going to be no surprise to anybody who travels to places where they don't speak the language. But you can talk into Google Translate on your phone and then hopefully read the thing. And the truth is, I can pronounce the Spanish words if I can see them spelled. So today, my landlords were here to respond to an emergency call because there's an interphone over here in the kitchen. Like that's what beeps theoretically if somebody comes to my door. That has never happened, but it's like it's got a little video screen and it's got a phone hung up on it. But the hanger for the phone is kind of broken, so there's a piece of plastic that was barely hanging on, and then for whatever reason it decided to shift just a little bit so that the phone receiver is no longer pressing on the button underneath it, and it's going beep. I hope you found that as annoying as I found it yesterday for many hours. And I kind of had it fixed. I thought, what can I do? I'm looking around. Like, there's not much to MacGyver with around here. I have no tape. I have no duct tape. That's the MacGyver thing. I have no string. Like, I've got very little. But I figured out that a charging cable that I'm not using would wrap around that phone and be able to kind of pull it tight enough so that the handset would sit on where it's supposed to and the buzzing would stop. So that was fantastic until last night when I was trying to fall asleep. And honest to God, like sleeping while I've been here has been sometimes okay, but mostly quite problematic. So as I'm trying to fall asleep and I'm kind of groggy, I'm not really thinking clearly, and I can hear the thing like beep, 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 and then longer and longer as it gets further and further off of its hanger. And then for some reason in my groggy state, I thought there's nothing I can do about it. And then I remembered I have earplugs and it's a high frequency. So maybe the earplugs will actually do something as opposed to the rock concert across the street. There was a rock concert like 200 meters from my apartment, open air until 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not sure if I put that in any previous update, but that was a whole thing. I did post a picture and a little video to Facebook about that. Anyway, the rock concert was full of low frequency noise, banging and stuff, and as much rock music is. And so the earplugs didn't do anything for that, but they actually completely blocked out the buzzing from my interphone last night, to the point where I fell asleep and then I woke up and I thought, oh, the interphone's not buzzing anymore. And then I took the earplug out of my ear and it is definitely still buzzing, like constant beep now. Anyway, so I had to call my landlords, and they made it, and I was able. Look, the point of all that is to say, I was able to talk to them quite easily with Google Translate on my phone. I can speak in English, and I can read the Spanish that comes up, and they totally get what I'm saying. And then vice versa, they don't speak any English, but they do the same trick pretty much the same trick. They speak into their Google Translate on their phone, and then they show me what the English is. So with all that, we were able to determine that they had to go get some tape, and we taped the interphone shut. So, completely changing topics now. I was observing to my friend Diego, who is the baritone in the Bar Drunk Quartet, that one of the first things I noticed when I landed here was that all the buildings are the same width. They're kind of there's a very standard size, just like in Vancouver, where you've got your 33 feet wide Vancouver East, each Vancouver lot, right, or the 50-foot wide occasionally, but mostly they're all kind of 33 feet. And of course, they would standardize. And they did that here too. And I can just imagine they had these standard lots with a house on the front and then a back garden going back 100 feet or what have you, 120 feet. And now every single one of those lots is covered in a 10-story building where, like the one I'm in, it's got like a front half and a back half and a part in the middle where it's open air, so you have a little bit of light. And so I asked Diego, why are they all the same width? And he wasn't too sure. But he does know that they happen to be 8.66 meters wide, kind of a strange measurement. And so I thought, what is that in feet? No, it's not that. But of course it isn't that, because this was the Spanish, right? This was a Spanish colony. And when I looked it up, it turned out the Spanish had a kind of a standard measure called a stick that is a lot like what English imperial measurement uses a yard for. So it's kind of like a yard, happens to be a little bit shorter. And the standard lot is 10 sticks wide. So that was the answer to that question. And nobody knows that. It's not important, but it's the kind of thing that sticks in my mind. And I told Diego, and he was like, "Oh, amazing, fantastic." So there we go. I also, changing topics again, as I was getting out of the house the other day, I noticed that my leg was itchy in 3 or 4 different places and realized, oh, I've been bitten by mosquitoes. Now in Vancouver, I'm used to a mosquito that's, a certain size, and they make a certain kind of a sound. And down here, it's not like this. They have these tiny little stealth mosquitoes that, you can't, I've never heard one, the usual, today, the video sound effects today, apparently that wasn't planned at all. I've never heard one here, and I only saw one for the first time today. And it's so it's beautiful and sunny out. So as you're walking through in the sunny areas, there's really no mosquitoes. But if you walk through the trees, then the mosquitoes will hop out and jump on you and bite you. And I've definitely been bitten half a dozen times now or so. On my legs mostly, but also I think over here, I don't know, like I got a whole bunch of mosquito bites. And then if you walk around Buenos Aires and you're reading, trying as I do to read the billboards, you'll notice that a lot of them talk about dengue fever. And I'm pretty sure what it is saying in Spanish is to make sure you don't leave standing water around because we don't want any mosquitoes because we're having a problem with dengue fever, which is one of those things you read about, one of those tropical diseases that sounds unreal. Like nobody in Vancouver, as far as I know, ever gets yellow fever or the bubonic plague. And I put dengue fever in kind of the same category, but here really is a thing. So 10,000 people got dengue fever in Argentina last year. I looked it up because I wanted to know how likely it was to happen to me. But that's 10,000 out of 16 million. And so I'm thinking, the numbers are still very much in my favor, and I don't really want to go out and get like bug repellent. So I'm just going to stay out of the shadows where the mosquitoes, tiny little stealth mosquitoes, tend to hang out. And hopefully I will be okay with all that, because I looked up the symptoms of dengue fever as well, and wow, that is really nasty sounding. Even a light, like a mild case of dengue fever is something you do not want. It's not usually fatal, but really nasty. So look it up if you want to know exactly what that would be like. Where were we? So, so the money situation, which is tied into the whole election situation in a way. As you may or may not know, Argentina has been going through this period of rampant inflation. Like in the US, in Canada, we complain if inflation is like 8%, right? Oh, 8%. Everything's going to hell in a handbasket, as my grandfather used to say. But here, it's not 8%. It's been north of 100. It's been 140%, which is pretty crazy. It means that everything, well, on average, pretty much doubles, more than doubles in price every year. which is insane. And so, yeah, the only bills you can get start at about, well, you can get like even still peso coins, but they're, is that like a penny? No, it's like a tenth of a penny. It's like it's not even. It's a ridiculously small amount of money that you can't buy anything with. And so, in practice, you walk around with these 1,000 peso notes to buy everything, which is about $1. It's about 1,000 to 1 ratio, which is really funny when you go and get some because various times, I've got some from people. Well, they want the dollars because if they have those US dollars, they're going to hold their value. And so dollars are extremely popular here, 1,000 to 1 popular. And the other day, I also made my way to one of the streets kind of in the center of town where all the cambio people, which means change, are sitting around. And I had to have this experience. It was important to me. So I had a $100 bill, and I found somebody who was offering change on the street, and walked up to him. Of course, I don't speak Spanish, and so I said, "Cambio, sí." And then he types out the number 950 on his phone, and I said, "See." And so we walk, to one of the nearby buildings, and then down into the basement. And then in the basement, there's a sex shop. And we're not going into the sex shop. We're going like through the sex shop into the closet in the back where you open the door and there's a lady, like a bank teller, behind this wicket. And she's got like a bill counting machine. And so, you give her the $100 and she goes, spits out, in this case, 95,000 peso notes and hands you this wad of money, right? So, and then, thank you very much. The guy gives me his business card. It's got his name scratched on it. He manages to ascertain that my name is Tom. That was surprisingly difficult. But hey, we even little things are hard when you don't speak the language. And then the funny thing is, it's such a stack of currency. You come home, and if I threw it on the bed over here, it would cover it. Like it's like one of those fantasies where you're rolling around in money, which I haven't done. Maybe I should try it. Or you just feel like a drug dealer or something, like so much cash. But you don't need very much of it. So, for example, even going out for a nice meal, I decided to go for brunch on Saturday morning, and I went to a lovely place, like a fairly high-end place where they had avocado toast with an egg on top, and they give you a coffee and the usual tiny little vessel of water. And that was, I mean, I can imagine that kind of service and that quality of food in Vancouver would be 25, 30, $35, like quite a lot of money, but it was $3.50. So like a tenth of the value. And I've realized I brought a certain amount of currency with me, American dollars, knowing the situation down here. And I think I'm going through kind of less than $10 a day. And I'm not like holding back. I am cooking and stuff. So I mostly buy groceries. But it's just really, really cheap to live here from a Western perspective, given that I'm getting paid in dollars, and that's kind of like just such a different situation. Not everything is cheap. If you want something imported, then that's going to be relatively more expensive. Gosh, this video is dragging on. It's like almost 15 minutes. Oh, yeah, it's still going. Okay. What else did I want to say? The other thing, yeah, I've met a few people down here. I ran into some expats, and of course there was the quartet. But I do miss all the people at home. It's very interesting, though, when you are apart for a little while. It's kind of like it gives you a certain amount of perspective. Like you definitely miss some people, but it also kind of shakes things up a little bit, and you have these different conversations. And so, even with my romantic partner, uh, we've had these interesting conversations that I don't think would have come up if I had sort of stayed there and maintained the status quo, everything being normal. And so, yeah, if you have the opportunity to go away for a few months and everybody's going to be okay with that, you should give it a try and just see how it affects all of your other relationships as well. Without getting into any detail, it's just very interesting. Thankfully, there is also the internet, so I'm still in touch on a regular basis with lots of different people, and I found these postcards that I have now finally written into, and I'm going to apparently you can. In order to do this, you have to walk to a post office, and then I'm going to have one of those awkward English-Spanish conversations to buy a stamp and then throw those in, and then off they will go back to Canada, hopefully in a reasonable time frame. The other mission in the very near future, as you can probably see, is that somebody really needs a haircut. Like these are getting on top of my ears. It's getting unpleasant. But there's not barbershops all over the place. There's no spinning poles with red, white, and blue colors. There's the peluqueria, which is a hairdresser, and I guess men go to hairdressers too here. So I guess that's what I'll do. Anyway, take care, everybody. I'll try to do another video within the next week or so.